Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Design Recharge. I'm your host, Diane Gibbs, and I think this is episode 177, and we are here with Dustin Lee, one of my really good friends, and he has done amazing things, and he really is passionate about helping designers make a little bit more money and get some more income generated so that we're not always feeling like we're up against the wall. So, Dustin, thanks for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me on. Being on your show is one of my favorite things ever, for real. We talk a lot, and I enjoy talking to you, but it's really fun to be on your show, so thanks.
Well, anytime. So if you are new to the platform, it's over there. You can kind of see what is going on. You can actually pop it out as well, and if we share screen, that will definitely be what happens. So we're just going to, I see Joseph's here. Awesome. Scott Fuller. Jetpacks and roller skates. Awesome. Here we go.
Wow, cool.
I know. So cool. You got a lot of people who you've done some work with. So Dustin, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, can you kind of give us a quick background of how you came into design and what you do, and then how you got the bug of retro graphics?
Yeah. So I went to an art school during high school, and then I decided that I couldn't make money with art, and I decided the best way was to be in business. And I thought, what better way to learn business than in banks, which didn't make any freaking sense, but like in the time in my 20s, that seemed really smart. So I worked in banks, and I was miserable. And right before I got married, I told my wife, I can't work in banks forever. I really want to be a designer. And so even though I had a degree already, from like a normal university, I went back to community college and studied design for a year. And then that was like my downward spiral into debt, and like thinking I was living in a pipe dream, and probably a lot of my family thinking I was crazy. And I struggled for a long time, and then slowly, incrementally, things got a little better and a little better. And eventually I tried to do a startup with a friend, like an educational platform, and it did horrible. And then I found out we were having our first daughter, and we needed, money for diapers and stuff like that. And out of desperation, I started selling stuff online. Like, it was pure that I got up early and just tried to make some extra money.
It was tools for designers to use. It wasn't just like you started selling widgets,
diet pills,
right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. I had always wanted to make a design shop and sell design goods. I'd seen Creative Market and seen people do it, and I always thought, I really want to do this. So that came to mind first, and I did that. And first month I made something around $800. Second month was like, can't even remember, like $13,000 or something like that. Like mind-blowing money for me. I mean, more money than I'd ever seen in my life. And I knew really quickly that I needed to stop the startup I was working on, and I needed to focus on the design goods business. And I had a unique set of skills in that I had spent 2 years working for an online marketing company. So that mixed with my decent design skills and good understanding of Photoshop and Illustrator helped me to just make the business do really well. And I've been able to pay off my debt and get a house and have my kids now, and it's all good. So that's it in a nutshell.
Well, that's good. And it's not like you just got a new car or changed out your old car, right? Because it finally died. It was, right? So it's not like you were just like going out and buying like Jaguars and whatever,
no.
DeLoreans.
Well, I'm driving my mom's car right now. My car broke down after like 300,000 miles. And we're just like anyone. We're not, rich, and like we can't afford to spend whatever we want. We have money to buy the car, but it still hurts to spend money. So I'm driving my mom's extra car as long as we can before we have to go buy an SUV.
Well, good. That was super nice of your mom.
It was really cool over, yeah. My mom's been very supportive.
All right. So you actually have a really successful business. And I remember, so passive income is really a big thing. Me and you have talked about a lot of stuff. Pat Flynn runs Passive Income, or he has a podcast.
Right. Smart Passive Income.
Smart Passive Income.
Yeah.
And we've geeked out over lots of other things that people we've followed and stuff like that. So you actually have been super successful by paying off all the debt and stuff like this. And so back in, I think, 2014, was for 14, 15? When did I meet you? When did you do that workshop at Creative?
I think it was 14.
So I think maybe it was too. So
yeah,
it was like $240,000 in a year you were able to make and generate. And so to me, that was like, whoa, really? Like I was expecting maybe, extra 7,000, maybe 20,000, but not, whoa, oh my goodness, 240,000. You're able to really not just pay off debt, but you're actually able to invest in turnaround, and you don't have a ton of people that are under you working and that you're having to pay all these salaries. You do a lot of collaborations with people, and you do have people that are under you, right, as contractors or whatever. But to me, that was a huge number. And it also was like, wow, you seemed like a normal person. And I always felt like, even with like Pat Flynn or any of the people, Simon Garland, any of those people, they just seemed like normal people. And it was like, if they can do it, then maybe I can do it too. And I guess that was one of the things that I loved, that you were so reachable and that you really were passionate about helping me and other designers not feel so overwhelmed with debt or overwhelmed that you can't get out of. You could actually make something and make it work if you had kind of these, the toolkit, right?
Yeah. Basically, I felt like we're kind of like, for example, on Dribble or something, we see all the very, very best cream of the crop people doing amazing things, and no one ever shows us the bad stuff they do. And we assume everyone is, making a great living and that we're failing. And it's a total lie. Everyone is struggling and everyone tries to hide it. And so I've really made an effort of saying, hey, I was in debt. Hey, I'm not, a design genius. I didn't go to some fancy design college. I have the same struggles and insecurities as everyone else did. And trust me, if I can do this, you can do this,
Right. Okay. So let's talk. So one of the things that we had talked about last week when we were like, what do you want to talk about on the show? We were like, oh, hey, you said you had done this survey, and I know we're sort of in order. I'm like, oh crap, I should probably say to my list. Let me read it. So you collaborate with people, you teach courses, you are continually always putting out new products, which you actually just came out with a huge brush pack with, that you collaborated with Von Glitchka yesterday, right?
Yep.
And you always give something, so it's like there's a certain period of time when you get, can you hear my phone buzzing?
Yeah, it's all good. I do it all the time.
I'm put it in my pocket. But I can't remember.
You're talking about Von Glitchka and that pack. And
but you know what you give? So you have a email list, just like I have an email list, and then you always give your list like the sneak peek preview, or you give them a discount. And so for that, that's going to be a $79 pack. And if you added all the others, it was like $139 if you added them all up individually.
Right.
And so I thought, wow, and you're giving it to us for $59. I was like, and it's like 100 brushes or something like that, right?
It's 130 something brushes and like a ton of different stuff. But that's the cool part about collaborating with people is, I think, one thing that has stopped a lot of people is that they feel like they have to do it all on their own. I know I'm not Von Glitchka. I'm not, Nick Slater, who just did a new logo for the Passive Income for Designers site, which is amazing. He killed it. I'm not a Brad Woodard from Brave the Woods and can't do this kind of illustrations. And I also care way more about making a cool product than I do taking all the credit for it.
Right.
I have more interest in getting the product out than actually making every part of it. So that's played as a huge advantage for me, I think. And like the reason the product is good is because Vaughn is over the top when he makes stuff. That's why he's so successful. Like when he makes it, like we made the first one, then he had to outdo himself. And I've had people tell me, like with the tutorials, I just watched this one tutorial and that was worth like the whole price of the whole thing easily. And I'm sure it was. Like that one thing that Vaughn might teach you, like, can save you time for years and add up to hundreds or thousands of dollars in productivity. So, I've just been blessed to work with some amazing people. Truly have.
Absolutely. All right. So, okay. So Jason actually asked, there is a Q&A you can see down there, but I always try to get y'all's questions first. So Jason Frostholm wants to know, hey, Dustin, man, what happened to your podcast? We need more episodes. And I agree. That was not on our list. But, it's like, it's not just like you're putting out products. You're actually giving a lot of stuff away. The Matchbook tutorial was something you gave a couple of pieces out of it. And that's what I actually ended up creating all the promos. I mean, I didn't create the illustrations except the cones. I bought those, and I was very clear in all the promotions that I didn't make that. But I made them retro looking with the Matchbook. And I thought, wow, that's you do give away a lot. And even on the podcast, you give away a lot. So where are you on the podcast?
Yeah. So this podcast, Brittany's on here, so I have to mention this. So this podcast started because me and Brittany both wanted to do them. And we made a bet that whoever did the most consecutive podcasts had to buy the other one, all the drinks and dinners for a night.
Oh,
there was some debate about who won that. Yeah, we're still debating about that. But anyways, so I did it, and I actually have like a bunch that need to go out. In fact, an amazing one with Aaron Epstein, who runs Creative Market. He's the CEO of Creative Market.
Oh, cool.
And he like gives all the, he knows everything, all the tricks and secrets of Creative Market and how to succeed on there. And so I do have them to release, but to be honest, I have a lot going on, and I just like everyone question what I'm doing. I made some podcast episodes, and I thought, well, I want to do more direct teaching. And then of course, Retro Supply is the main breadwinner. So then that becomes a priority. So honestly, I just got indecision paralysis and started like trying different stuff, but it is an active site and it's constantly being updated, but that's why.
Okay. Well, that's a good enough answer. It is like you have, a bunch of other things. So Jennifer, I think it's Jennifer Stewart, one of my old students or alumni, I guess. She probably wouldn't want me to call her an old student, but an old learner, I guess. I'm not old at all. But so what's your website? So you want to tell them what both of the or two of the main ones are? Yeah.
So the main one that's kind of like helped me to like get my freedom in my work has been retrosupply.co, and I just acquired retrosupply.com, which was big.
It is big. That's huge.
Someone owned it, and like they were like really like, I mean, they wanted a crazy amount of money. It took a lot of negotiation to get it down to a decent price, but that's the main site. And then I started passiveincomeForDesigners.com, which is a long, crazy name, but it explains exactly what it is. And I thought it was important that it's clear what the site is about. And that site is dedicated to basically painting the blueprint that I use to make this work. You don't have to be a genius to do it by any means, but you can spend a lot of time guessing if someone doesn't tell you. And the thing is that most people doing this don't want to tell you because they don't want more competition, or they don't want to tell you because they're busy making money and doing this.
Right.
And I decided, I don't know how long my shop will go for. I think it will go for a long time, but I decided I wanted to have more of a legacy than that. Personally, like, I just felt like, you know what, like, this can really help a lot of people. I know a lot of designers, and I'd be interested in the comments if any of you feel this way, are on like a feast and famine cycle where like some months like you're rolling in the dough, and some months you're like, how am I going to pay my bills this month? Or like you're going to the store and calculating, can I afford to get like the like refrigerated pasta instead of like the drop in the boiling water pasta? Or like, will that not give me enough money to pay my electric bill?
Right.
And that sucks because like so many designers are so talented, they shouldn't be in that position. And most of them could easily be taking care of that. Or maybe they have like a client that I'll put it nicely and say is not a nice fit for them, not the right fit. And they would love to like fire that client. And people don't have the freedom to do that, and that sucks. Right. So that's why I'm doing that. So I felt like, you know what, someone needs to teach this. Somebody else is, and I'm doing it for purely selfish reasons in the sense that someone else is going to teach this. I would love to be the person to do it because I want to take the credit for teaching people. That's the selfish reason. And then there's, of course, the reason that it feels great when you see people actually do it. It truly does, because it's life-changing.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, one thing, we all are busy. And so sometimes, like last week, I'm doing this big map, and I was like, well, I could do a compass. I could make a compass. I could, do some sketching and then do it out. And then Emily Carlton, I believe she sat in on your workshop one year. And so she published this thing, and I met her at Creative South.
Great Snapchat feed. Great Snapchat feed, by the way.
Yeah, and she's terrific, super nice. But so I just did a search on Creative Market for compass. And you think, wow, and there weren't very many. So if, that was a really good kind of niche thing for her to, because hers was the best one for sure. And it was Emily Carlton. So I wanted to support her. So instead of me spending an hour on something, I just paid $8 or whatever to just have it. So then if my hourly rate's $100 an hour. So hopefully I'm not too low or too high, I guess. But for me, I've been working 20 years. I think in my market, $100 an hour is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. You shake your head no. I'm like, okay.
No.
We have a whole nother conversation on that.
I totally agree.
So
charge more.
It would take me probably about 45, maybe 30 minutes. Maybe I could do it pretty quick, but I would like to sketch it out. And then, so if I could spend $8, then it's much cheaper for me to do it like that. So then I'm also helping, somebody else I know. And that's why I think networking within our industry, and not networking, but like being friends with people. Because I knew Emily, I wanted to help Emily, but Emily was also helping me. So it's like Creative Market becomes a resource for us to be able to, I bought the graphics that I bought for this one. I got on 123 RF in just a royalty-free, really it's photography, but you could pay a little bit more to get the illustrations. Well, it would have taken me a lot longer to do the illustrations because I'm learning to be an illustrator. So anyway, so Andre from Portugal, he said he bought your Vector Hero for Illustrator and loved it. Me too. That one is like the whole pack, the Vector, Flow, Vector, everything. I bought that big pack. That's one of my favorites. Anyway, I'm just rambling.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. And thank you. Yeah. Those have done really well. And I've seen some amazing work with them. That's the coolest part is you get to see people do really neat things. Someone that comes to mind is there's an amazing illustrator named Travis Price, who has done just amazing work. He's a designer from Australia, and he uses it, and it's just amazing. So yeah, it's definitely cool to see people use them, and I'm glad they like them.
So you actually also reach out and you ask people. So somebody asked, I think it was Josh asked, I'm going to look up his question real quick. He said, oh, boogers, went to the wrong one. Okay, here it is. One of his questions was, how do you come up with ideas for awesome products? And I know one of the ways is that you survey your audience, right?
Yes. Yeah, I do. So this is the biggest problem people have when they try to sell products online, is it's so easy to think of like what you like people think of what do I want to make?
Right.
And they should really be thinking, what do people want to buy? If you want to make something because you like to make it and you want to put it out there, that's great. And that might help your reputation and people might think it's cool, but you're probably not going to sell as much as if you go and look, what do a lot of people want? So for instance, I have a fairly large email list now. It's approaching 17,000, which is, I'm so lucky I started doing that early, but that's a lot of people. So I can send an email out to the people that have actually purchased. So the survey doesn't go to people that haven't bought because
right.
In the most polite way possible, we don't care what people that don't buy want because they don't buy. So who cares what they want? We care what the actual customers want. You want to take care of them. So instead of guessing and giving them what I think they want, you just ask people and you send the survey out and say, what are you struggling with? What do you think's neat? What do I do that's annoying? What do I do that's awesome? And people will tell you, and it's really funny because you'll see like the same thing over and over, and that's the product you make. And then I know I'm assuming all of you guys struggle with time. You probably don't have enough time. And you're afraid if you make a product to sell, if you want to go into passive income, that you're going to waste all this time you could on a freelance client and it's not going to make money. So one way around that is to ask people, and then you have a pretty good feel that people want that. And then when you put it out, your chances of success are much higher. Now, I still survey people, and some things don't do nearly as well as others. It's just the way it goes. You know, people will tell you things they want, and then when you release it, they don't buy it, and you're like, I don't know why. And then sometimes I put something out, and I'm like, I don't think this will do that great. Not enough people want this, and then it sells like crazy. So it's kind of an art and a science.
Right. Well, so Doc Reed's like, I'm trying to figure out how to sell people more time, which if you figure that out, Doc, we're going to have you back on the show and you can tell us how to do that, because I would be buying. But so we talked about the three, and really we talked about four things, but three main roadblocks for designers. So one is that there's not enough time. Do you want to talk about one? Yeah, definitely the biggest. So then do you want to just mention the other two and then we'll dig into them?
Yeah.
You want me to tell them what they were?
Well, I have the ones in my head, I think, but.
Okay, tell me.
So we have time. And we're talking about roadblocks to like getting creative work done, right? Or starting a side business or whatever. Yeah. So we have time. That's the number one problem. People don't have enough time. They get home from their day jobs and they want to spend time with the family, or they don't want to gamble on spending all this time on a product only to have it do poorly.
Right.
The second thing is that people have imposter syndrome. Like this is rampant. Like it's crazy. I surveyed, I think I got 150 answers back, and these are all from established designers. And 65, 70% said that imposter syndrome.
But
so,
you've even said that. You've even said that to me. And I'm like, Dustin, you're a designer. Like, it seems so silly. But I think it's good to know. And I think that it doesn't matter how much, you know, you're like, well, I didn't go to a design school, or I don't have a degree in design. You don't need a degree in design. You just need to be passionate and be learning and growing and pushing. And
absolutely.
It's about what you're putting out there. And the imposter syndrome, it's nice to know that everybody feels that way. And I feel like that's one of the things that you got from that survey was like, wow, it was a lot of people, and they need to know that everybody kind of feels that way.
Right, absolutely. And someone's asking like, what is imposter syndrome? So like really quickly, imposter syndrome is like when you do something like you're a graphic designer, but you secretly feel like everyone's going to figure out that you're a fake and you've been pretending to be a graphic designer your whole life, and they're going to call you out. So for instance, when I released my first product on Creative Market, I was scared to death. I couldn't sleep that night because I thought people were going to say, you didn't set up this AI file right. And you know, you didn't do the kerning right on these letters, and you suck. And like, you shouldn't even be on here. And that's what I was afraid of. Like I was deathly afraid of that, and it never happens. And people struggle with this so much, and it's such a bummer because I think it holds so many people back from doing awesome things. So you have time, you have imposter syndrome, and I'm curious what your third is. I wonder if your third is.
I think we were talking about this, and I had texted you back, so I'm going back to my thing. I think I'm going to read it. We actually talked about clients being bad, like, and that's not necessarily for you making passive income, but it's one of the roadblocks I think designers hit. And so it's like, you know, I just get the crappy clients, and if I just worked there, it's kind of like the grass is always greener. If I worked at this agency, then I would have more creative time, and if I had this client, I would be able to do more creative things. So it's like, if I just lived on this side of the grass, then it would be so much better, and I would be more creative because I feel like sometimes our clients can suck some creativity out of us. But I really believe that you can get people on your side, and that's one of the things. Some people come out of design school or out of ad agency, like a portfolio center with Johnny Gwynn, and they know how to sell. They know how to sell something, sell an idea. And that is a beautiful thing to be able to do. And until you get to that stage of knowing how to do that, it does sort of feel like they're not letting you be creative, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, people definitely get around that, and there's an art to it in itself. But I know, I mean, from the survey, at least tons of people responded and said, I work all day for clients and I can't convince them of things, and I'm not allowed to like spread my wings. And these are people that got into this because they were creative. These are the kids, you know, these are people like me and you who were drawing when they were kids, they, you know, and when they were in high school and stuff, and they were in all the art classes, and they got into design because they wanted to do creative stuff. And the next thing you know, like they have like clients like from, you know, the driving school standing over their shoulder telling them how to make a flyer for the driving school. Not that there's anything wrong with driving schools, but I'm just saying like it's not creative. And so they're like, wow, like they get burnt out and they don't get to do the cool, neato stuff that they signed up for. And they're like, this isn't what I signed up for in my life.
Right.
And I think those are really the huge roadblocks.
And so Blake was saying this earlier. He's like, yeah, I don't really usually buy stuff, and I'm I'm not getting it perfectly because I'm not able to scroll up that far to, it says, because I don't usually buy things, I make them myself or figure out a way to create it. And then he's like, well, maybe those are things to sell. And I said, yes, absolutely. Like, Blake, those are the things to sell. But there's certain things that you teach in Passive Income for Designers that kind of clue people in on figuring out what you should sell. And that's one of the things you're going to give people 10 sign up if they want to. They can get 10 ways of, right? What did you tell me?
Yeah. So after I made this survey, I was like, I'm going to make this little freebie. I'll put a little link here for it. So
we'll share it again twice, but will you also say what it is if
oh, absolutely. Yeah. So like the big struggle was time, right? Like people are afraid to do this because of time. So I thought, well, there's all sorts of ways where you can make things in an evening, you know, once your kids go to bed or on some night that you have off, you know, you can easily make a product in a couple hours for some of them. Some take longer, some take a couple hours. Some I think you could probably do in like 30 minutes for real. And it's just a quick way to get started. And the thing that stops people is they don't believe it. Like, people want to learn, well, how do I get the traffic and how do I pick the right product? But the biggest thing I've noticed is that people don't believe it. It's like, I read this great analogy. There's this movie called Transform or something. What's that movie where the dude finds out about these pills that he takes? And when you take the pill, all of a sudden the world becomes crystal clear and your intelligence goes up. Oh
yeah, but that's a TV show, right?
Limitless. No, it's a movie, I believe.
But it's a TV show, Limitless.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking of the movie where there's this magic pill. Or the Matrix is like that too. Yeah, like Johnny Gwynn said, and it's like literally like that. It's like once you make a couple dollars online, you see people pay for it. It's like all of a sudden, like things become very clear, and the path becomes much clearer. But people don't believe it, and they need to get to that point. And that means you need to make some stuff, and you need to forget about people judging you, and you need to make the stuff fast, and you'll find your path by doing that. And of course, there's tons of little details to making it work better, and there's tons of hacks. And, you know, shortcuts and different things you can do. I mean, I spent years not knowing what the hell I was doing. And I was lucky enough to have a mentor that did. In fact, he had spent like, just in 1 year, he'd spent over $20,000 in training from, you know, very high level marketers learning. And marketing is important, and they don't teach that in design school.
Right.
Or for the most part, they don't. But it's a huge part of selling stuff.
It is.
You have to know how to sell stuff.
So Blake says right now, he says, I definitely don't believe it because a lot of things that I make already have packs made of it. So it feels redundant. And he says, you know what I mean? So this guy that both Dustin and I follow says, David Siteman Garlow, one of his courses that I took, and this is definitely something Dustin teaches, is that if there's not another product out there, then you shouldn't be making it because you want to have proof of the people will purchase. Then you have to make it better. You know what, Blake? There are tons of tables. You can go and buy a ton of different kind of tables. There's not just one table maker. It's about why that table is good for that purpose. And so you got to think, or chair or whatever, you know. And so it's really, Dustin really talks about, you know, making those promo images and how to make it and how to market it. And I do think that that's something as designers we are limited on.
Absolutely. That's something I learned when I was working for my friend Jonathan Mead, Paid to Exist. And if nobody's making something then don't make it. Like, if the quickest way to go broke or to waste your time is to try to make something completely new that no one has ever bought, because you're risking so much. Like, don't gamble on that. Gamble on stuff that other people have bought. And here's the secret. Everyone says, well, how do I stand out? So here's how you stand out. It's really, really simple. You can't be maybe you can be the best. but not everyone can be the best. I mean, by definition, the best is like 1%, right? Or like a small fraction. So don't try to be the best. Try to be different in a way that makes you, you. So let's say like you make, I think you're saying Blake. Let's say Blake makes like a bunch of, brushes or icons. Tons of people make that. You don't want to make the best ones or put yours out and make a Me Too product. You want to say, what makes me different? What makes me stand out and be someone that makes people perk up and say, well, that's kind of weird. This person kind of put this whole idea on its side. So for instance, with icons, maybe the special thing you do is instead of making all pre-made icons, maybe you make kits where people can build icons.
Like Rocky did.
Like Rocky did, yeah. Maybe you sell the greatest icon pack in the world for this one thing and you charge $499 for it. I don't know. You do something that makes people like go, this is different. I can't forget this because it's so weird. And that's why Retro Supply does it good. A lot of people would say, well, there's a lot of retro stuff out there, but I purposefully pick what is something weird we can do. Because if we can't do something weird, then we're competing with everybody else. So you want to go so far out on a branch that nobody else is willing to go that far out on it, and you're being yourself, and that's how people remember you. That's how you blaze yourself into their brains, and that's something else that in the passive income for designers, I spend a lot of time teaching, because I realized very early on that creative market now is very heavily dominated by big bundles.
Right.
I can't compete with people that are selling 50 fonts for $19. I can't do it. But what I can do is I can make a really unique brush pack and do it like nobody has ever done it, and then charge $29 for it.
But like some of the things that you do are some of the things that are not part of the cost. Like you get a tutorial and you get to see how the brush works before you even buy it. And that is a over delivering. And so it's kind of walking people through the process, and then they see how to do it. And you've actually showed us how to do the thing once we get these brushes. So I just want to make sure that everybody, if you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on a podcast later, it's Passive Income for FOR designers with an s.com/free-cheat-sheet.
No, I don't think it is.
That's what you said. That's what I just was looking at the thingy.
Let me paste it in here. Free cheat sheet. Oh, I thought you said free cheat sheet.
I said free-cheat-sheet.
I'm sorry, I heard you wrong. No, you are 100%
What did
right.
you say? I
thought you said free cheat sheet.
Oh. Okay, I'm not enunciating. I'm sorry. I'm like, I swear. Well, if you didn't hear me right, I'm sure people on a podcast wouldn't hear me. Anyway, CHEAT-SHEET.
Yeah, and you get some like ideas for really quick ways to make things. For instance, one of the ideas in there is to go through your hard drive, like kind of like Blake was saying. You probably have things sitting on your hard drive that you could sell. So that's a really fast way to make something. Another way is there's this really cool piece of software called Font Self Maker, where you can install it in Illustrator, and you can, if you're good at hand lettering or if you just want to try exploring some font stuff, you can draw the fonts, put them in Illustrator, and it will convert it into a font. Is it the best font in the world with like, Western European and
right.
Asian language support? No, it's not, but it's a really quick way to get started. It's called Font Self Maker.
I got that Kickstarter.
Yeah, I got that at Kickstarter too. So Font Self Maker is a really quick way to make things. Another guy named Jason Karn has done something really smart where he's dug through the interwebs, finding amazing typography books and restoring them. These are ones that are way past their copyrights and stuff like that.
Right.
And he's found these little pieces of gold and he sells them. It's brilliant. So there's all sorts of ways to do this. And it's really fun. Like it's really fun to do, and you can make it into whatever you want. Jason Karn's a fantastic example of that.
Absolutely. All right. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so that cheat sheet gets you started. But what I'm going to be doing, so if anyone here is really, really interested in this, I'm going to be probably next week, be inviting like a very small group of people to do like 5 weeks of training where every week we'll meet and go through like a module. And by the end of it, you'll have a shop up, and we will do everything we can to set you up to be profitable. I mean, no one can guarantee you'll be profitable, but I can tell you everything I know that's worked for me. So if you sign up and get that cheat sheet, I will have your email address, and I will be writing you and telling you about when that's coming up, so you can take advantage of that if you want to do it.
So you got to sign up at passiveincomeForDesigners.com/free-cheat-sheet.
Yeah. And if you just go to passiveincomeForDesigners.com, there's a big button that you push and it will bring you to the right page. And by the way, the logo was just redone by Nick Slater. So thanks, Nick Slater. I didn't do that logo. Nick did, and it's amazing.
I was going to try to pull it up, but I didn't.
You did a great job.
Yeah, he did an awesome job. So I'm going to, I'll try to pull it up in a second. All right. So, we're on number 5. So one of the things I love about your story, and we talked about this a little bit last time, and it is, I think, the failure that holds people back a lot of times. They're worried about failing. At your story, you had nowhere to go. You could only go forward. So, or up, I guess. You felt like you were at your last straw. And so yeah. I think that failing, to some extent, the more you fail, the less scared of it you are, right? And it just makes you one step closer. So most people who never start, they will never fail. But most people who have started have failed at something, and it just shows that they've started. But do you want to give us a little kind of background or give us a little encouragement on that fear factor?
Yeah, for sure. So this is the biggest thing that stops people is people are either they're afraid of people laughing at them if they put things out. They're afraid that I've had people tell me I'm afraid my family or, my wife, my parents will think I'm, dumb for doing this. And by the way, that's all. If those people are doing that, they're just not being supportive, and that's their thing. That's not your thing. But a perfect example is like Amy Lyons is here. So Amy put some stuff out and she made some sales. She's part of, we have a Facebook group, and she was like, I made some good sales on this product I put out. And that's amazing because she got something out, and that's really hard to do. And I think that people are so afraid of doing that. But the thing is that once you do it once, and I think Amy would probably agree with this, once you do it once, it's so much easier to do it again. And I know how hard it is to put something out, but once you do it once, all the fear evaporates away. And it's so easy to do over and over and over again that it's just a shame that people wait. So get something out. And if it's, Amy's was amazing, but I'm saying if you did put something out and it wasn't fantastic, that's okay. You got past that mental barrier, which was the biggest part to succeeding. And I was pushed to that because I needed to buy diapers for my little daughter who was going to be born. I didn't care. I didn't care if people thought I was dumb. I didn't care if whatever. I was desperate.
And then you actually thought that maybe your mom or your friends were just buying your product for you so that you would be able to pay your bills, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was that imposter syndrome early on, but then it got to the point where there was no way your mom was spending that much money.
No one had that much money to be buying my stuff. But yeah, I thought my mom was buying it.
And so Scotty Russell talked about that when Jason Frostholm interviewed him for the Creative South podcast. And I was listening to that again today. And he said, Instagram really changed his life, I guess, in a way, because he started doing some things that he had never shared. And then he started sharing it. And then from just getting some feedback and being part of a community that was encouraging, I think that is also something that is really helpful. But that's also something that you do with that Facebook group too. It's very open. You can ask questions. You can put something out there and get feedback, so it's not like you're just buying something and it's see ya, it's you're actually interacting. And that's something I think that is really nice because it doesn't happen a lot, but that's the way you're different and you're better.
Oh, well, thank you.
I think. All right. So I definitely think fear holds us back from just trying. And so you actually have step-by-steps. Step-by-steps is one of your things. I think the tutorials are like that. And you also always say in your tutorials, I know I'm not doing it. This is not just one way to do this. And that just to encourage you, Blake, about, somebody else already has a pack of this. But you are an amazing illustrator, Blake. And so you could totally sell it in with your own vein. And I think that that's really what you need to do, or all of us need to do, is find people. Maybe it's using Instagram or finding something that people really seem to like and that they really encourage you about, and then go forward with something like that. But I'm guilty of not putting anything out yet, but you really do take stuff out, take us through step by step. And I think step by steps are really important.
Can I add something to that about, because I feel like Blake's question or his issue is really hits the nail on the head. So when I started Retro Supply, here's what I was doing. This is a really quick equation anyone can use when they're making products. Think about what your strength is. So I'm familiar with Blake, but I can't off the top of my head picture his work. Although if I remember correctly, it's these amazing illustrations in a style right up my alley. But anyways, like all of us have our own styles, right? So look at things that are doing well and then put it through your own filter of how that product would be made if it came in a factory. Let's say like Brittany Barnhart is on the call. So if Brittany saw something that was doing well in Creative Market, she puts it through the factory of Brittany. So like when I made Retro Supply, I would go, look, well, what's doing well? Well, maybe like this 3D action is doing well for doing text. It's a time saver, right? How can I put that through my filter, which is the retro stuff, and package it as a retro product? So you see, like, there's a ton of things that make text 3D. There's got to be thousands of them. But that was one of the first products I made, but I wrapped it in this retro niche that I chose. And so when people are looking for a 3D effect, but they want a retro look to it, they buy it from me. So maybe for Blake, he does something like that in his own style. So you know what I mean? Like, put it through your filter, and it doesn't matter if it's been done 1,000 times because it went through your special filter.
And people
I'll say that, some people copy me when they hear that, which drives me bananas. Like, put it through your filter. Don't put it through my filter.
But people also want to be a part of you, right? They want some of Dustin. They don't want just a generic something. And so that's that filter. And if you aren't familiar with what your strengths are, I think that's something you need to look into for sure. But
absolutely, yeah. And that's why you can't really copy what other people are doing, because it's going to be hard to compete. One person I think I had said is, you don't want to be the best, you want to be different. Another great quote I heard was from a guy named Mark Sivers, who founded CD Baby. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he had a fantastic quote about this. He said, everything that isn't weird, cut out. Which I think is like really smart. Like, think about how, like, I think they said that since the rise of the internet, I just read this the other day in this fantastic book I had called Fascinate.
I love that.
I'm really interested in like captivating people's attention and what makes them pay attention. And she says that in a study she had commissioned, that people's attention span used to be 20 minutes. And with the rise of the internet and cell phones, we have a attention span of 9 seconds, which is coincidentally how long a goldfish's attention span is. So when you make things, like, you also have to remember, people are sitting by themselves in front of a computer, bored off their butts. And so you have to do something that like breaks them out of the hypnosis they're in from staring at their screen. And that needs to be something like, look at this. This is weird. This is different. Like, this is going to do something special for you. And it's not like everything else.
Right. Absolutely. And so it's Sally Hogshead, right?
Yes, Sally Hogshead. Sounds like someone from Harry Potter. But
it totally does. But she has 2 books that are really awesome. Both of them are really, really good. And that Fascinate book is terrific. Mm-hmm. Okay. So why do these step-by-steps? Why give people the step-by-step? Is it because we really need it? Because we don't feel like we can't do it without that? Or like, because there is something to that. Like, to tell people, I'm actually going to walk you, handhold you through something, it is huge. Especially if you're spending a good bit of money, right? You're
talking about the ones that come with the products or the free ones?
The ones that come with the products. I mean, especially like the one that you did where the illustration, and then you got to sign up and do the webinars, and you got, it was like, but even in your free stuff, you go step by step. But if you're doing it for free and a step by step, my goodness, don't you think he's going to do that for you if you pay for the product? And so I guess it's like, oh my goodness, he's giving this away for free. What do you think the product would be? You know, it'd be so much better, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the reason for that in the products is, first of all, it's becoming more and more competitive out there. So my first thing I always think is, how can we do something different that no one's done? The second thing is that we're all lazy. I'm lazy. I can't speak for you. Maybe you can tell me if you're lazy or not, but I think a lot of people are. I'm pretty lazy. So a strategic advantage, like, people might make the products, but people that you're competing against to sell products might be too lazy to get a microphone out and talk and explain things on a microphone. They might be intimidated by the microphone. They might be too lazy to make the instructions. And so that's a strategic advantage, because I can help teach people. I can make sure that they feel safer, that if I buy this product, it's not going to be some piece of junk that I can't figure out because I don't understand the instructions, because I'm going to hold your hand and walk you through it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, imagine if you're buying two products and one has in-depth, step-by-step instructions with screenshots and zoom-ins and pointing to things, telling you what's going on, and someone else just gives it to you, whoops, as is. You're going to pick the person that is going to give you like everything to make sure you succeed. So that's the strategy behind giving it in the product.
But you actually go further than that. You don't just do the video, because you know that some people don't learn through a video. You actually also do a PDF that's of all the products that I bought on Creative Market, yours are always the best. And so then I actually just bypass Creative Market and just go straight to you. And that's what you would like. Right. But even if you don't, and again, it's about having a platform at some point. Some people won't have a platform ever. That's not really their goal. And some people will. But I think it's about continuously. Johnny said way earlier, he said, oh, you actually send the best, most frequent, your frequency of email delivery is the best. He said, and I was like, wow, you know, so I feel like I get stuff from you pretty often, but it's not too much. But it's because you're giving me content that is I can use. I'm not deleting those emails. It's not like, hey, I walked the dog, you know, or we got ice cream. Like, it's content that I'm using and I need, right?
Yeah, well, I'm always trying to make that better, and it's a fine balance, because you have to put out sales emails, because that's how you make money, and that's how you live and pay your bills, obviously. But yeah, so I try to make it so even if it's an email where we're selling something, at the very, like, everyone needs to get something out of it, even if they don't buy, because most people aren't ready to buy. Either they are not in front of their computer, it's not payday, they don't need it yet. So a lot of people are just going to open and look. So I try my best to make it interesting, so they can at least say, I don't regret opening that. I got something out of that. I learned something was weird, something sparked a little idea in my head, and I'm going to steal that and use that. People steal that and use that without buying the product, and they can figure it out. Great. I'm happy. I want them to be happy when they open the emails. And then you try to mix that with content that helps them. And I'm still just trying to strike a good balance of that. It's hard, because it's really hard to make things that are the right balance of helpful and not too much, not too little. But I think the biggest mistake people make is, I'm willing to bet probably 75 to 80% of people here have MailChimp accounts or email lists, and probably 98% of them haven't sent an email in the past 6 months from those email accounts, would be my guess. And you have to send it to people. And I think people are afraid it's going to drive people bananas, or they're going to get angry. And some people will. And if they unsubscribe, that was not your person. That wasn't your thing. The people that stick around, if you're providing things, are going to feel like they know you. So whenever people write me, like through my list, they say, hey, Dustin. They know me. I put my picture places. I talk. I write the way I talk. I try to put my passion into it. And so they feel like they know me. And who do we buy from? Do you buy from the stranger with the, the music speakers that's like on the corner of like the Walmart parking lot that you never met? Or do you buy from your brother-in-law who helped you move and, you've had barbecues with? You buy from people you feel like they're your homie or like they're your buddy. So that's the whole point. You don't expect them to buy every time, but you hope that you're helping them to feel like they know you, right, at the least.
So Johnny had a question, and I'm going to read it. So he said, Dustin, is this class just for online products?
Yes. I mean, you could probably repurpose it for like physical products, but I don't have any success selling physical products. So I would be a snake oil salesman if I was telling people how to sell physical products, because I have not made that succeed. I haven't tried. But basically what I'm doing is I'm getting like very fundamental marketing skills that I learned from someone that was doing it right. And I'm applying those to this specific business model. Right. But yeah, I would use it for selling digital products.
So Lenny asks, hey man, how incredible is it being my friend? Oh, Lenny, I should have read this earlier. It's okay. You can be honest. He said.
Oh no, what do you write?
He said literally that. Hey man, just how incredible is it being my friend? It's okay.
Oh, he wrote, how incredible is it being his friend? Yes. Pretty incredible. If you don't know Lenny, go introduce yourself in this little chat right now. Because let's see, Lenny got me, well, first of all, Lenny bought like every product I ever made, it seemed like. So like he helped to buy my house. And then he invited me to Creative South. And then he got me to speak at Creative South. And then I met you. And then I met Brittany. And then I met Jordan. I met pretty much everyone on this list I know through Lenny. So it's pretty cool knowing you. You're a little self-centered, but other than that, you're pretty cool, Lenny.
We're all happy.
I'm just joking. You're not self-centered. You're awesome, dude. But I thought I'd say that since you made that kind of funny comment. It's pretty cool knowing you, Lenny.
So, all right. So some of these things, I think you definitely could take these. One thing that I think that if people have people who work for them, they need to find what their strengths are, and you can use those people to make you more money, and that's what you should be doing, right? Sometimes we kind of push people into a box. And I think Amy said something earlier. She said, well, I'm tired when I get home from work, because her work maybe isn't feeding her. And I think that's what Google does, real well. They'll take, I think it's like 30 hours a week you work for Google, and then 10 hours or 35 hours you work for Google, 5 hours, 1 day a week. Pretty much you get to kind of do what you want to do. Explore. And Shopify does that too. They actually encourage their workers to get their own stores. Yeah. Veronica cool. Wong's going to be on sometime. I don't remember. Ashley does she's amazing. Does all the scheduling for me. So, but Veronica works at Shopify. And so she started this great, well, hers is not necessarily passive because she has to actually make something. But that's the difference between making something and having a passive. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like having a digital product as opposed to having to have physical t-shirts or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, physical products are entirely, if you're already tired and out of time, physical products are a lot riskier and a lot more time consuming, because obviously you have to source the materials, you have to, pay more closer attention to your profit margins. You have to, I ordered some t-shirts from Lenny. He made me some amazing t-shirts. I put them up for sale, but then I had to fulfill the orders. And that, I was like, how do people, if you have a staff, great. But I guess with a digital product, it's kind of like set it and forget it. You can make it, release it. It will continue to make money. Passive income is not really completely true. I just use that as a shortcut to explain it. Because you have to update the products. People are going to write you and ask about them. But your profit margins are huge. Once I make the product, it doesn't cost me anything other than the time it took me originally to make it. So I just think that's the huge advantage of making digital products. Plus, I think so many designers want to sell t-shirts and mugs and prints, and those are a hard sell because, for instance, think about all the people that succeed at this. I think this is really interesting. People always ask, why are my t-shirts selling? And this is just me waxing philosophical. I've never done this. So you can call BS on me if you think I'm totally wrong. But think about the people that do really well at this. Aaron Draplin does really well at this. I got 2 of his posters on my wall. I don't have them because I think that I have them because they're all about me. One's a space shuttle. I was born in 1981. That's why I bought it, not because of Aaron Draplin, because it has a space shuttle from 1981. The other one is Georgia, which is close to my heart because that's where I've gone to Creative South and met most of you. So I buy those because they help to make me feel good inside. Or if you think about 50 States Apparel, they make shirts for different states. Like Amy Lyons has designed a shirt for them. Do people buy those shirts because, I bought the Georgia shirt. Did I buy it because I love Amy Lyons? Well, I actually do love Amy Lyons, but that's not the reason I bought it. The reason I bought it was because it said Georgia on it. So it's hard to sell t-shirts just because it has your artwork on it, because like, it sounds harsh, but I don't think people care nearly as much as we think they do about our artwork on t-shirts. They care about, does it fulfill me? Like, does it help me actualize myself? Does it say something about me? And that's why I think, like, for instance, selling digital goods is so powerful. The products I'm selling make people look good. It doesn't make me look good. It doesn't say Retro Supply in the corner when they use it. It makes them look good with little things, and that's why they buy it. I'm wearing this shirt that says Brave the Woods because I made a product with him. Makes me feel good because I'm like, I made a product with Brad Woodard, and now I'm wearing his shirt, so anybody who's in the know knows that I know him and we made a product. Anyways, I'm going off on a weird tangent there, but I just think it's an easier way to make money. There's less risk. You can make it quickly. You can test it quickly. And if it doesn't work, you don't have a garage full of t-shirts that you can't give away.
Right.
To save your life.
Well, and it's also that it can work for you while you sleep. So if you're trying to sell a product and you're selling to somebody in Australia, which you've done, it's a little hard to process the order if you have to be awake to process the order. But if they can get everything done while you sleep, then that is making you money. And it's just, these are tools, these are specific tools. So it's about having a niche industry, not just being a generalist. And I think we all deal with that when we have clients, and clients are like, oh, I want to be for everyone. And I always like, oh, so you want your product to be in like Walmart? And they are like, no. And I'm like, well, then you don't want it for everyone. You know, the tax form is for everyone. You know, it's just plain Helvetica. And I mean, not that there's anything wrong with Helvetica, but, you know, it's a tax form. It's utilitarian. And there are other things. And being niche, I think, has helped you specifically. And I think that's another thing that you kind of teach in the course is picking something, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a huge part, is picking something that plays to your strengths and that makes it easy for you to stand out and compete without spending a ton of time doing that. Like, yeah, you really have to play to your strengths, and you have to be weird. You have to be weird, and you have to be interesting. And then it's easy to sell. It's really easy to sell if you're willing to go way out in left field.
So, all right. So give us some of the success stories of some of the people who you've been teaching this for 2 years. Can you talk to us about some of those success stories? Yeah,
I mean, well, I've taught it at the conferences mostly, so I've seen people succeed, and I haven't had a ton of people succeed in the sense that they're making $250,000 a year or something like that.
But a lot of people aren't doing it full time. A lot of people are doing it as a side business, right? They don't have as much time as you have to spend on this.
Right. So the one I always think of is Rocky Rourke. Rocky Rourke made, he told me he had made some icons for some project, and he sat down and watched Netflix all weekend with his laptop in his lounge chair. And by the end of the weekend, he had a product and he put it up for sale. And I think last time I checked, it had made, I don't know, $500, $600, $700.
I was 19 of that, or 29 of that.
Yeah, I got one too. It's fantastic. And so it's probably actually higher than that. I haven't asked him what it was for a couple months, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's past $1,000 now or more. Plus, once he made the product, then he made other products to expand on that. So if something's working, if something makes you, $1,000, you do what he did, and you say, okay, well, I made an icon of guys, let's make one of girls, or let's make a spaceman themed one, or like let's make a dog themed one, or whatever it is. So you see, you can expand out. And then you're selling all those, and then you bundle it together, and you have a massive pack that you slowly accumulated. Right. So that's one example. Another example, and this isn't someone I necessarily taught, but we had like a consultation about it, is Jason Karn has done a fantastic job with that, because his was really unique. He loves type, and so he found online, like we had mentioned, online old books that were copyright free that were about lettering. And he got them all prepared and sold them for a subscription. So yeah, could you go find them and get them for free? Sure, you could. I mean, if you want to sit around in the evening and dig all over the internet, yeah. If you want someone to find the best of the best for you and save you all that time and put them all in one place and deliver one to you every single week, that's fantastic. He did it once, and it makes income forever. I have another friend who had like tons of, what do you call it? Like, it was like old vintage, like Victorian era illustrations.
Mm-hmm.
And she loved that stuff and used it in her work, and she scanned it all in, and she, didn't make it fancy. It's not packaged amazing or anything like that, but she just charged like a fee a month to put that in for people to get access, and they get access to all this free Victorian clip art to use.
Let me ask you a question real quick. So Andre asked, besides your own site, is there any other site you think are great to sell or you think are good to sell digital products on? And he said like Gumroad. And so you really have been a big proponent of Creative Market, and it was kind of early on you started using that one, right?
Yeah. So it was a land grab in the beginning for Creative Market. So it was new when I started, so I had that advantage. But you can still definitely make money on Creative Market. People every day come into it and end up making full-time incomes. I talked to, like I said, the CEO just like a little over a month ago. You don't have to be established to do it. He said our goal is to make it so new people can come in and have like a flood of extra income come into their pockets every month. And they do. They really do. It's in their best interest to do that. So if you make a great product, they'll make you money. So there's Creative Market. Gumroad is fantastic. Probably a lot of you know Kyle Webster is on Gumroad. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like the one of the celebrities of Gumroad. They love to use him as an example of a successful Gumroad account. And that's another advantage. So one of my advantages on Creative Market was I was one of the first people to really put a ton of effort into my products. And because of that, they featured me all the time. In fact, at one point, they'd even joked that I was like paying the salaries for the staff with my products because I was making, like these products that were very standing out from what was there at the time. But if you go to Gumroad, for instance, and you're making a specific thing, there's not as much competition in your particular niche maybe. So make your product, make it look amazing, and then contact Gumroad and be like, check out what I made. I made this for Gumroad. This is, I think really amazing, and here's the results I've gotten. They want examples of success so they can get more people on the platform. So they will advertise you for free like crazy to show people that they should get on the platform. And all that time you're getting free traffic and sales. And that's literally what got my business off the ground. So you can go to Gumroad and do that. Plus they have a recommendation engine. So you can opt in and they'll take a little higher fee, but they'll recommend your product. So let's say someone buys X piece of graphic design book or something. Your product will get recommended next. Another place to do that is of course, Envato, the Envato network, which is like Graphic River and things like that. I don't particularly like them because I feel like they're too heavy on editing. They choose your price, they choose formats, they just take too much control, I think. But the one thing you should be doing is creating an email list. So no matter where you go, you need to make an email list right away.
And so MailChimp is an easy way to do that. There are other paid places, but MailChimp is free up until the first 500 users. I just had a client who was using somebody else, and then and she didn't have a very big list yet. And so I was like, you're just wasting money. Let's move you to MailChimp, or I gave her another option. And then she moved. And to me, it's a no-brainer. And those are things to me, not an upselling. I guess that's over delivering for you as a client, for your clients as a designer. If you see this, they also need email lists. This isn't just for designers that need email lists. This is something, again, what's helped me and my business grow is that now I'm able to do more consulting and kind of help people get to where they need to go. And it's not that it's just designers. This here is for designers. But what I do in my day job, I guess, is helping my clients get ahead. And sometimes they don't know. And so they need to know these tricks and tools. So it could be that your superpower, the thing that you're great at, that's one thing Dustin had people do, like ask people who are around you, if you were going to hire me for something, what would you hire me to do? And when I asked that question, they were like, oh, you're really nice and you're funny, and I'm like, I cannot make money being funny, or being nice. But Dustin and I had a long conversation. He's like, well, those are things that you could teach people that maybe would make a difference. And so that's something that Dustin and I are working on, and hopefully we'll be able to launch sometime soon, and with a lot of other people as well, but getting some of the business sense out, I guess.
Absolutely. I think there's two categories of things that people will buy very easily, and that is things. The number one thing is things that make you money. So even if it's a skill, like Jason said, a soft skill, like for instance, you're very easy to talk to. That's a huge skill when you're trying to get clients. If they feel comfortable talking to you, they're going to be more comfortable purchasing from you. So that would be best positioned, I think, in a way where you say, here's a skill I can teach you that's going to make it so you get 20% more, you close 20% more deals with clients. And that's going to be using some skills I use to make people feel comfortable and make them feel like they're understood when they're looking for a designer. So you could teach that on Skillshare or teach that on Udemy. Is that how you say it, Udemy?
That's how I say it.
Yeah. Same with Imgur. Like I say, Imgur. Anyways. Yeah. So you can teach things like that via those kind of places. And of course, get as much of that traffic and send it to your own email list because you don't know what they're going to do in the future. Right. I know I keep going back to that, but always bring people back to your email list because for all you know, you could sell something on Skillshare and then they decide that they're going to give you a penny every time someone signs up.
Right.
So, but yeah, you can definitely sell soft skills for sure.
Well, really, an email list is something we should be teaching everybody, not just designers. It should be teaching our clients. I don't know if you can see way over here, that tiny little painting.
Yes. It has like a tree.
Well, past it's so Scotty Russell's is above that. I can't really point in the right, that one.
Yeah.
So this is an artist and they go around and they've traveled and just do art shows. So something like Doc Reed or Derek Castle or something like this. But if they build an email list, then they, just like Creative Market was for you, it gave them that start, but then it pushed them to your site. Now you can actually sell directly to and I'm sorry, it's so messy over there. I'm still in transition. Maybe I should
good sign
my little thing over here so you can't see the mess as bad. But those are things like for them, I said, you guys need to get this because at some point they don't want to go to an art show every weekend for the rest of their life. They're going to be, 70 and still doing art shows and all this physical labor and out there sweating. This is not something that maybe is sustainable for a long period of time. And so you have to have some way to reach those customers. And MailChimp is a great way. And again, just like you were saying, if you haven't reached out to people in 6 months, what would you say is the minimum you need to reach out to people?
Like how often?
Yeah.
I think they say in 60 days, you lose, like this is just one company statistic. If you don't reach out in 60 days to your audience, you lose like 60 to 70% of them. So if you don't reach out for a long time, people will say he's not consistent or she's not consistent. They can't be trusted. I think at a minimum, you should reach out at a minimum once a month. You should probably reach out once a week. And if you're running a business trying to make sales, you should reach out at least twice a week. Really, you can reach out as much as you want if you're providing interesting stuff. If I had interesting stuff to provide every day, I'd reach out every single day. And I can guarantee you my sales would go through the roof. But I'm just myself and some contractors. And so I just don't have the scale to do that. But you've got to reach out often. It's like seeing somebody. It's like we're friends with people in our office, right? Isn't there people in your office that you're like, I would never be friends with this person in real life, except I see them every day and now we're kind of friends. It's kind of like that with email, right? Like if they see you all the time, like they get to know you and then they end up buying from you.
Well, I had my massage therapist emails me once a month and just as a reminder, hey, here's what we're doing. And sometimes it's just oh man, I need to go get a massage. Like it's just a reminder because again, we need to be reminded. And I don't know if this is off topic, but Invisible Influence by Jonah Berger. Have you read any of his books, Justin?
No, that sounds cool though.
He is awesome. I can't remember what his first book was. I'd have to go down on my phone and see. But he is like he works at the Wharton School of Business. But it's definitely when we get so upset because nobody bought something, maybe because they didn't see it. You need to keep trying. I think that's one of my biggest hangups. And you got to kind of figure out the timing of your people. But that one has been a really good book so far. I was trying to find what the other one was called, but that's a good one. His name's Jonah Berger, Berger. Anyway, I know we're totally out of time and I know people got to go back to work. So I could always talk to you for forever. Like sometimes Dustin and I get on here and we're like 3 hours later and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I gotta eat.
Me and Lenny do that all the time. Yeah.
Well, Dustin, thanks. So let's share that link one more time. So it's www.passiveincomefoردesigners.com/free-cheat-sheet. Okay, and Dylan says, my 2 cents, frequency is less important than telling me something new when you contacting me. Yes, absolutely. I feel like that's huge. You do have to have good content. You can't just be fluff, right?
You do. Well, it depends. Like there's different types of emails. So sometimes you're sending emails out to like educate people and to give them value. And then those need to be different. Like it would be crazy to write them the same thing. If you're trying to sell a product, like for instance, here's a way to like most people, I think the average open rate for an email list is if it's a healthy list, 30%. So 30% of people open those emails. But a great hack that I learned from I believe his name is Noah Kagan from Sumo Me and AppSumo was you can get that exact same email and send it to people that never opened it with a different headline, and another 10 or 15% will open it. Plus, when you sell things, sometimes people need reminders. So yeah, in general, you shouldn't send the same content, and you never want to send a repeat email. But let's say I send an email to you, and you are in line at Starbucks, and you're thinking about the caramel frappuccino you want to buy, and you see the product and say, well, that's neat, but you don't care about that. You care about your caramel frappuccino. So as soon as you get to the front of the line, you're going to close that phone and forget about it. So sometimes you do need to send an email to remind people again, and you don't want to repeat the exact same thing and drive people bananas, but you might want to say, hey, here's just another reminder, or here's another approach to looking at this product, because most people aren't right in front of their computer with their wallet in their pocket ready to buy. So if you're trying to make a living from selling stuff, yeah, you do to some degree need to repeat yourself in different ways. Maybe show a different way, show testimonials, show an example of it in use, show a video, show a tip that they can take away even if they don't buy. But I mean, writing to people once, you're not going to get nearly the amount of sales. And I've done it forever, and I've had very few abuse complaints. Of course, you always get some unsubscribers, but
that's really important. I think that we as people sending stuff out, we don't want to get people mad at us, but maybe it's at a point where we're not being bold enough, because there are tons of times I am on so many different of Dustin's list because I bought it off my phone, and then I buy it off my computer, and then I have multiple email addresses. It's not like I'm trying to see what he's doing. It's just that this is more convenient. And a lot of times I'm not going to buy a product until I can download it. And so I might be like, oh man, I'm going to flag this email, but then I'm going to wait till I get back on my computer. And then I need that reminder, because how many things are coming to you? And that's what that Jonah Berger is talking about, that invisible influence. We used to say you had to see something 7 times, and now they say that it's even more. And I think it's like 20 times, to be honest. Anyway, the other book he wrote was a couple years ago, and it's called Contagious. They're both really good if you're into marketing or business books. Those are a really, really good one. I always wonder if I'm sending too many. I know that I have students who are like, I don't want to get all these emails. And I would love to know that. If you guys, you can email me back if you want. But like, those things are interesting to us. I think, when people write back and are like, you know what, I don't really care what questions you're going to ask. But sometimes I think maybe the questions, why I send the questions is because then they can be like, oh, I really want to tune in, because I want to make sure that I want to make sure that I hear this or hear that answer.
Yeah, and some people are going to be like, well, you sent me too many emails and I'm going away. I have people write me occasionally and say, you're writing me too much and I'm unsubscribing. And that's okay. That means we're not the right fit. That's perfectly fine. But let me ask you something. Like, do you have any subjects where you can never get enough of it? I mean, I know I do. For instance, for me, I love email marketing. I find it really interesting. I have people that I'm on their list where they write me every single day talking about it. Sometimes the exact same product or the exact same idea from different perspectives. I never get tired of that. People get tired, I think, if you are not writing to them about what's relevant to them. But I mean, we buy books. Books are hundreds of pages long. An email is like a page of a book.
Right. Right. So Daiko said over there, he said, Internet Explorer is brave enough to ask to be your default browser. You're brave enough to send them emails. That's so funny, Daiko. That's so true. So I definitely am interested to hear what you guys think of this. This is Blab, just to kind of give you an idea. I'm going to close it, and then I'll tell this. I think I can still do it without recording.
This is Zoom, right? Not Blab.
Yes, right. But what I was doing was Blab. So I'm just going to hit stop. So I'm going to say thank you, Dustin, for being awesome.
Thank you for having me.
You're just like a brother. So I'm just always thankful to have you on.
Love being on. So thank you very much. It's so much fun, seriously, to talk to you. And I feel like everyone on the chat is people I know, which is pretty neato, because it's kind of like being at Creative South. Really not as the same way, but it's good to see everybody there.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, so next week, just so you know, and then don't get off because I want to finish telling you this, but next week is Bethany Heck, and she's going to kind of go, if you didn't get to catch her Creative South talk, or you haven't read her Medium article, we're going to go a little deeper into some of those busting, not only using more than 2 typefaces, because it can be something that we're taught and it's ingrained in us. So it's about a new way to marry type, and I'm real excited to have her on. So I will see you guys next week, and you can always catch me at diane@rechargingyou.com, or you can just sign up at rechargingyou.com and find out more. And we are every week Wednesday at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific. So thanks, Dustin, and don't hang up.